There is a charity golf tournament coming up next month called Dads Matter Too. Led up the folks over at Creating Hope Society in Edmonton. Joining us in the studio this afternoon is Bernadette Hightail, Executive Director of Creating Hope, and Perdita Beyer. So first of all, Bernadette, let's talk about Creating Hope Society of Alberta. Tell us about your organization.
Creating Hope Society was founded back in 2006 for Aboriginal children who grew up in child welfare during the 60s and 70s child welfare scoop. And so there was three of us co-founders who got together, Sharon Schurz, Sharon Gladue, and myself, who got together and said, we need to talk about the cycle of child welfare. How do we talk about how do we stop it and what do we need to do? So we got together and we created Creating Hope Society.
One of your goals is to reunite Aboriginal children back with their families.
Well, we do have a declaration, an Aboriginal home for every Aboriginal child in care by 2025, which is only 10 years away. 70% of Aboriginal of children in care are Aboriginal. And one of the biggest things, we do have programs. We have a program called the Aboriginal Mothers Advocacy Program, and that is we are liaison between Children's Services, the parents, and child welfare. And one of the things that we do is that we work with our parents to ensure that their children are returned home to them. One of the things that we had noticed, though, we had some dads and we also had some grandfathers who came back and said, you know, like, I want custody of my children.
Right.
My children have been in care for, whether they were temporary custody or permanent. They felt that they had the right to be involved in their children's lives. And this is where we found out that a lot of fathers weren't recognized as being parents, and a lot of fathers, they themselves grew up in child welfare. So we did do a documentary. It's called The Aboriginal Fathers Love Their Children Too. We also had a program that was called Dads Matter Too. And we worked with, we interviewed a lot of Aboriginal fathers, actually, and, got their stories documented and their hopes and their dreams. And historically, we've seen that a lot of Aboriginal, well, when you look at the history of INAC, one of the biggest things is that if you had a child, you had to let them know who the father was. And if the father was native, then, you could get your status. But if he was non-native, then you wouldn't get a status, right? So one of the biggest things we found that some of the moms didn't write down who the father of the children were. So we kind of lost track of that. So we were able to document the dads and getting the stories, and I've been doing this for the last 3 years, really wanting to see less children in care and really looking at why aren't our children being placed with families, extended families. One of the things that we noticed is that the paternal side of the family wasn't looked at. So now people are starting to acknowledge that yes, dads have right to be parents. And also the paternal side of the family need to be engaged around, the taking care of the children. So one of the biggest things is that some of our dads were, with their stories, it just really, we see the history, but we also see that they love their children. They want to be part of their children. I've never met a dad saying, I don't love my kids.
Exactly.
So, and this is where we want to be able to develop programs for dads and being able to have those, to be able to be engaging. And one of the biggest things that with caseworkers, to have caseworkers looking at the paternal side of the family.
We were just talking off air about, as an Aboriginal dad myself, we don't have a lot of programs out there to go to.
Yeah, and that's right. There is some programs, but one of the programs that happens is that sometimes they bring the couples in, and there are some dads that are single dads, and so where do they fit in into that program, right? And we have quite a few dads who are single, and they want to be able to get a peer support going for themselves, right? And where do they access the resources? How do they ensure that, their kids and their needs are being heard? And oftentimes what happens is that, if there is some child welfare involvement, they do help them up to a certain, maybe 5 months after, they say, okay, no more resources, right? And so what do they do after to ensure that they have those resources? And then we keep contact with them to find out, is there anything else that you need in order for, to keep your children, right? And some of them will tell you, I just need some support. I want to go back to school. How do I enroll into school? Or, I need to get a budget going. How do I keep this budget going, right? So there's a lot of different things that they're asking for help with, and so we're there to provide that.
I love it. Again, we got Bernadette Hightail and Perdita Beyer from Creating Hope Society. Perdita, tell us about the big golf tournament coming up. Dads Matter Too.
Based on what Bernadette was saying, this is the first time that Creating Hope is having a golf tournament, and it's for Dads Matter Too. And all of the money that's raised from this tournament will be going directly back into the organization to provide programs for dads. So this tournament is happening on August 26, 2015, and it's at the Ranch Golf and Country Club. And we are looking for sponsorships, and we're looking for teams. We have openings for 20 teams, and the total cost per person is $150. And that includes 18 holes of golf, a golf cart, and a steak dinner. We're also looking for sponsorships, monetary funding, or something in kind. We have a gold sponsor. We're looking for $2,500. We have silver sponsor for $1,000 and bronze sponsor for $500. And we would just love it if any of those wonderful corporations out there would love to help with this wonderful, awesome cause. You can go directly to the Creating Hope Society website, www.creatinghopesociety.ca, and you will see that the registration form is right there on the front page, and you can directly register. And we also have a Pen Pal account, and so it's really easy. Just take those 5 minutes. It'll be a great day for golf. Love to see you out there.
Again, Dads Matter 2 charity golf tournament coming to Atchison Wednesday, August 26th. It's going to be a fun day. By the way, Bernadette, if there are any single dads out there that need some help, how can they get hold of Creating Hope Society?
Well, they can give us a call at 780-477-7961, and just press 1, and it will go to our receptionist, and our receptionist will be able to ask them what they need and refer them to a worker. One of the things that we are planning to do, I did receive some money to be able to go across Alberta and do present the documentary, as well having conversations around Aboriginal fathers and what are the barriers, how can we work with our fathers differently. One of the biggest things that we have noticed is that the majority of caseworkers, people who are working in the social work field, are females. And so we encourage for the caseworkers to really open up and listen to what the fathers have to say, because a lot of times we don't look at them because we don't recognize them as parents, as I said, right? And so it's time to kind of looking at things differently, because fathers can be both. They can be mother and father at the same time, just like single mothers, right? Yep. And if we can provide those resources and being able to, guide them through whatever needs that they need, I think that they be great parents.
I'm a single dad myself.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a tough job, but I wouldn't give it up for nothing.
Exactly. And one of the biggest things that children need to know who their dads are.
Yes.
I grew up not knowing who my father was, and not having that part of myself as an identity of who I am as an individual. And I see my son seeing my granddaughter and being with her, and I see some positive in her. She has good self-esteem. She knows both sides of her family, and so many children need to know both sides of their identity.
If there's some dads out there that would like to golf and may not be able to afford it, we will have some spots, not a lot, but we'll have some. You can give a call to that phone number, and we'll get your name on the list, and then we'll certainly let you know. Because we really want this for the dads, right? So we really want to see the dads out there too.
Bernadette Hightail, Perdita Beyer, pleasure, ladies.
Thank you.